In 2019, WeWork was worth $47 billion. It was losing $1.9 billion a year. It had never made a profit, and the smartest investors in the world were lining up to give it more money. You know how that story ended. Now let me tell you about a company that's worth $730 billion. It's losing $14 billion a year. It has never made a profit. And the same investor who bet on WeWork, SoftBank, just put in $40 billion more. The company is called OpenAI, and I'm not here to tell you it's going to collapse. I'm here to show you the numbers and let you decide if you've seen this before. To understand OpenAI's story, you first have to understand what it actually built. In 2015, Sam Altman co-founded OpenAI as a nonprofit research lab. The mission: build artificial general intelligence that benefits all of humanity. Not a product, not a company, a mission. For years, almost nobody outside of tech knew it existed. It operated quietly, publishing research, running experiments, chasing a goal that most people thought was science fiction. Then, in 2019, something changed. Microsoft invested $1 billion. OpenAI converted to a capped profit structure, meaning investors could now profit, but only up to a limit. It was a compromise between idealism and capitalism, and it raised a question that still hasn't been answered. Can you build the most powerful technology in history and still stay true to the mission? Then, on November 30th, 2022, they released ChatGPT. 1 million users in 5 days, 100 million users in 2 months, the fastest product adoption in internet history. Suddenly, everyone was talking about AI. Governments, schools, boardrooms, your parents. By 2024, ChatGPT had 800 million weekly active users. Revenue hit $13.1 billion in 2025, beating every internal target. Sam Altman became one of the most powerful people in tech. OpenAI was valued at $730 billion, more than the entire GDP of Argentina, more than Nike, McDonald's, and Boeing combined. And unlike WeWork, this company actually had a product that worked, a product that 500 million people used every month. So what's the problem? Here's what the headlines don't tell you. OpenAI made $13.1 billion in 2025. It spent $21 billion. Net loss, $8 billion, and it's getting worse. Internal documents project a $14 billion loss in 2026. Cumulative losses through 2029, $143 billion. The company doesn't expect positive cash flow until sometime in the 2030s. Now let's talk about where the money actually goes. Running a large language model is extraordinarily expensive. Every time you type a message into ChatGPT, OpenAI pays for it. Electricity, cooling, NVIDIA GPUs that cost tens of thousands of dollars each. At scale, those costs don't shrink. They compound. OpenAI has committed to spending over $600 billion on computing infrastructure by 2030. To put that in perspective, the entire Apollo space program costs $288 billion in today's money. OpenAI is spending twice that. On data centers. Where is this money coming from? SoftBank, $40 billion. The same SoftBank that valued WeWork at $47 billion. Microsoft, $250 billion commitment. NVIDIA, $100 billion. Oracle, $300 billion in contracts. Total commitments over $1 trillion. But here's the catch. Of the $500 billion Stargate project announced at the White House in January 2025, only $52 billion is actually committed equity. The remaining $448 billion, still not secured. SoftBank's own CFO admitted the project was taking longer than anticipated. Here's the number that tells the whole story. OpenAI spends $2.25 to make every single dollar of revenue. Only 5% of its 800 million users pay anything at all, and it needs revenue to grow from $13 billion to $280 billion by 2030 to make the math work. That is a 21 times revenue increase in 5 years. WeWork needed the world to keep renting desks forever. OpenAI needs the world to pay for AI at a scale that has never existed before. Both were, and are, betting everything on a story about the future. So is OpenAI the next WeWork? I want to be honest with you here, because this is where the comparison gets complicated. WeWork's product was a desk. OpenAI's product is changing how humans think, work, and create. Those are not the same thing. WeWork's revenue was completely dependent on office space. OpenAI has 800 million users across healthcare, education, software development, and finance. Its moat is real. And here's something WeWork never had: network effects. Every time a developer builds on OpenAI's API, the platform becomes harder to replace. Every enterprise that integrates ChatGPT into its workflows creates switching costs. WeWork had none of that. OpenAI has all of it, and the investors backing OpenAI are not naive. Microsoft, NVIDIA, and SoftBank know the numbers. They are making a specific bet that compute costs keep falling, revenue keeps growing, and whoever owns the AI infrastructure layer in 2029 will generate returns that make every dollar of interim losses irrelevant. That bet might be right. But here's what makes me pause. SoftBank is the same investor. The pattern of announcing enormous numbers and securing only a fraction is the same. The timeline to profitability keeps moving further into the future. And the story, the vision so compelling that questioning it feels like a failure of imagination. That part is exactly the same. When Adam Neumann said WeWork would elevate the world's consciousness, most people nodded. When Sam Altman says OpenAI will transform human civilization, most people nod. The question is not whether the vision is real. The question is whether the business model can survive long enough to get there. So, what can we actually learn from this, regardless of how OpenAI's story ends? Lesson 1. Vision and viability are two different things. OpenAI's vision might be the most important in human history. That doesn't mean the current financial structure is sustainable. You can believe in the technology and still question the economics. In fact, if you're an investor, that's exactly what you should do. The most important question is never, is the idea good? The most important question is, can the business survive long enough to prove it? Lesson 2. SoftBank is a pattern, not just a company. Since 2017, SoftBank has made massive bets on WeWork, Uber, and now OpenAI. The common thread: enormous valuations, losses measured in billions, and a vision so large that the numbers feel like details. This is not a criticism of SoftBank. It's a recognition. When SoftBank leads a round, the story will be extraordinary. Your job is to check whether the fundamentals match the narrative. Lesson 3. The most dangerous moment is when the math requires the future to be perfect. OpenAI needs 21 times revenue growth in 5 years. It needs compute costs to fall on schedule. It needs no serious competitor to emerge. It needs regulation to stay favorable. It needs every piece to land exactly right. WeWork needed something similar. The world had other plans. Here's what I'll say to close. OpenAI might be the most important company ever built. Or it might be the most expensive lesson in the history of venture capital, or most likely something in between. But the numbers are public. The pattern is visible. And now you know what to look for. If this made you think differently, subscribe. Because next week, we're going back to where this pattern started, to the company that first showed the world what happens when a $47 billion story runs out of road, and what 3 lessons every founder needs to take from it.